be love, let there be understanding, and let there be peace and friendship among us. The wise words added by Chaim Stern to our prayer of peace and peacefulness, Hashkivenu. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu leshalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim ufrost aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu.
I just want to say that Seth introduced that piece when we were all on our computers, and that was the first time we all heard other people singing it.
More than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת.
Page 46.
Ananana שפתי תפתח, ananana ופי יגיד, ופי יגיד תהילתך. ananana אדוני, Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Be'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye Metim Atarav L'Hoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Ve'ofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Givurot Umidom Elach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanata lahachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh ha'meitim Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated and join me in English at the bottom of page 54. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Ve'amcha Yisrael Amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam Be'avot tekabel Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Ve'amcha Tefillah
Baruch hu, Baruch Shemo.
המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
Amen.
In the middle of 59, when we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you have set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout all the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. Our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, is on page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. Ki atah hu melech Adon, lechol ha-shalom. Ki atah hu melech Adon, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. V'tov beinecha levorech et amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.
I invite you to turn with us to page 253, where you'll find our Mishaberach, our blessing of healing, as we offer all of those who are in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit, the blessings of wholeness and renewal.
Mishaberach Avotenu Makor Avraham Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
From our congregational families, we pray for Happy Anderson, Chris Argall, Nancy Ash, Mindy Beller, Chana Leah Bat Devorah, Betty Cohen, Amy Cooper, Shard DeGrave, Harvey and Susan Filer, Andrew Fisher, Dean Gavney, Jacob and Roger Gluckman, Gabby Goldberg, Stuart Goodman, Alicia Good, Ramesh Gupta, Bert Horwitz, Laurel M. Wally Jonas, Miles Kellum, Jean Nofel, Chris Kuntz, Michael Lidikin, Bill Rockamora, Bert Rothman, Jim Rudisil, Deborah Sanders, Julie Sherman, Shoshana Slatke, Matthew Treehub, Bob Ward, Marlene Wexelblatt, and Jan Weil. We also think of all of those who are suffering in North Miami Beach and all of those who are mentioned from our friends at home on the chat. And are there additional names we'd like to mention aloud in here?
I invite you to a moment of silence.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Yehu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali.
I'm so grateful to so many people who accepted the invitation, opportunity, challenge of offering Divrei Torah recorded to be played during our live stream services as we pandemicked. And Ahava Shalom was one of those people who gave a Dvar Torah at that time, and she also is on the other side of the pandemic and said, I really want to talk again. When can I do that? So I'm grateful to her for being here tonight, for preparing a lovely Dvar Torah, and please join us on the Bima.
Shabbat Shalom. 2020, the year that would live in infamy, the year that forced us to take a seat. How many of you realized how little you rested before? The year that forced us to make our own food at home. How many of you bought a sourdough bread starter? How many of you realized you didn't get enough family time before? The year that stirred up a powerful movement for justice. How many of us watch a man unjustly lose his life at the hand of law enforcement and let it sink in that this is commonplace? The year that brought all of our collective and individual fears up for reflection and reconciliation. The year that was one of the hardest and one that taught us the most. A year of roadblocks and hurdles. I wonder if there is any going back to normal after a year like 2020. In this week's parsha, King Balak is overcome with fear after he learned the Israelites were approaching, fearing they would conquer him. His instinct was to put a roadblock in their way in order to protect his people. So he hired a sorcerer named Bilam to curse them. Bilam was flat out told, hey, they're blessed, you can't curse them. He listened for a minute. And even though he was fully aware of what he was doing, he saddled up his donkey and let his fear of poverty win out over his better judgment. When his trusty steed went off course 3 times, he beat her. But after a 3rd time, God spoke through her, asking, what have I done that you would strike me 3 times? He answered her angrily, you have humiliated me. If I had my sword, I'd kill you right now. She responds, how long have you been riding me? When have I just darted off course? To which he answers sheepishly, never. Then Balaam's eyes were open when he saw a giant angel with a giant sword. This is what finally forced him to take responsibility for the task he was given by God to do, namely, bless instead of curse the Israelites. We've all walked many paths in life where we wanted to force outcomes so that we get what we think we want. We believe that what we want is in our best interest, and suddenly, our paths are blocked, our plans derailed, and our intentions are unrealized. We all remember, we all know that place. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? It's a terrifying place to be, but may I suggest a necessary one? The Hebrew word for fear is yirah. While in English the word for fear connotes anxiety, yirah has more valences. It means fear in a sense of awe. In fact, we are to cultivate the quality of yirah towards God. Similarly, yirah points to realistic caution, which makes total sense to me. In order to be afraid of the thing, I have to accept that the thing exists in the first place. It's easy to be fine with a pandemic if you just pretend it's not happening or won't happen to me. But healthy fear of said pandemic forces you to respond skillfully to its existence. There are certainly many things in life to be afraid of. No one is fearless. More often, people behave carelessly more than fearlessly. That one guy that cuts you off, then cuts everyone else off, darting in and out of traffic. He may not be afraid to wreck, but he endangered all of these people. I've had a few arguments with customers at work who claim that wearing a mask means living in fear. For those who wore them, it wasn't about not living in fear so much as it was accepting that our choices could harm the people around us and committing to a different course of action. Yirah seems to be the stuff that allows you to stop, consider consequences, and tells you, hey, don't step into traffic. Yirah is the stuff that inspires you to start a savings account or have insurance. Yirah is a healthy caution to life's contingencies. It also allows us the ability to be flexible in a world that doesn't conform to our plans. On the other hand, living in a fixed, vigilant state of fear can hold us back from fulfilling our potential. Anxiety arises from complex trauma and is the inability to differentiate between our healthy and unhealthy fears and then to confront and heal them. As one who has suffered from anxiety, I know how much easier it is to avoid doing the things that scare me. But how much would I have grown if I had stayed home instead of coming here? I've known people who don't have driver's license because they're too afraid to drive. I know people who refuse to leave the house. There are people who are so terrified they think their anxiety gives them a license to hurt people, and sometimes even kill them. How do we find a way to live beyond our fear and trauma? When everything shut down at the beginning of the pandemic, I was terrified I'd lose everything and everyone. But instead of allowing terror to fill my soul, I made sure I was in constant contact with my friends, in spite of not being able to hug them or be near them. I would argue it takes Yirah to reach out when you need help. Anxiety is what built the systems that oppress, belittle, and dominate. It takes Yirah to know when you need to stand and speak out against those systems that are deliberately set up to your disadvantage. Cultivating Yirah seems to be the move we make to sort out what is realistic concern and what is blatant irrational terror. Yirah seems to be a fine balance between being brave and being cautious. The fear of change is a raw, valid emotion. We get comfortable with routine. Unfortunately for our comfort zones, change is inevitable. Yirah allows us to peek outside of those comfort zones for those just-in-case moments. You know, those moments when all of your beliefs of what you want shift from beliefs to understanding. Understanding that maybe what you think you want isn't actually the thing, what you think you're afraid of isn't actually the thing you're afraid of. A fear of rejection may manifest into a petrifying social anxiety. Fear of death or losing loved ones may manifest as being extra strict about social distancing and masks, even now as we open up and come back together. The fear of losing family may cause you to adopt their ideals, even if they are cruel and bigoted. Yirah seems to ask the question, what are you really afraid of? Maybe Yirah teaches us by forcing us to ask bigger questions about ourselves and what is really at the heart of what we are thinking and feeling. This pandemic has certainly broken down many of our realities in the past year. I know for myself, through cultivating within myself Yirah in place of crippling anxiety, my confidence and compassion has expanded greatly. Fear and judgment made way for tolerance and understanding. Small things like hugs and smiles and those cool handlebar mustaches, things we took for granted before, now we will hopefully treasure for the rest of our lives. Wearing masks, getting vaccinated, staying socially distanced, and being brave enough to ride all the lonely storms all came with a heavy dose of Yirah. And now that we're transitioning back to our preferred reality with hugs and closeness, I know I am reaping the benefits of exercising my capacity for Yirah. Maybe Yirah teaches us by showing us compassion for ourselves and others and how deep it goes. Maybe Yirah is that compassion. Although life will likely never go back to what it was, I see the blessing within the curse, just as Bilam had to. We have been shown our potential and brilliant resistance through difficult times. May we find the courage to never need an armed angel like COVID-19 or hordes of people of color and their allies to tell us to stop being so cruel. May we only need to be told once where the paths are, and that there will always be paths of compassion. May we reflect on why we need compassion so badly. Remember the dolphins in Venice? Remember how quiet the sky was? Remember how beautiful the flowers were? Maybe Yirah is the force in the road we all confronted in all our paths. Maybe it was the very thing that was needed for an awakening. May we choose to see this. May we find the compassion to choose to accept this powerful opportunity to bless each other for the rest of our lives. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue and conclude our service, page 282. We rise for Aleinu.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We think now of our loved ones. We remember Charlotte Mazinson. Say it right for me. Mazanson, mother of Martha Scarborough, mother-in-law of William and grandmother to Jesse, who died in recent days. And we think of those who died at this season in years past, honoring the yahrzeits of Elaine Beller, George Branfeld, Henry Croland, Barney Friedman, Martha Friedman, Sarah Heller, Dolores Jones, Helen Kahn, Joel Kirshner, Sam Levy, Nathan Master, Robert Missig, Edwin A. Rosenberg, Terry Shainberg, and Clarence Westendorf, Jr., as well as all of those who are named in the chat, and are there additional names to remember in memory? If you're here in mourning or are acknowledging a yahrzeit, I invite you to rise that we might acknowledge you. And I invite the congregation to turn with you and stand beside you, page 294, as we join in the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei u'b'yomei u'b'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei dekudisha brichu. Le'ela mincho berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Shalom, David.
I'm David Seligman. I'm a member of the Temple Board, and I will be representing the Temple and the Board to give the announcements. All right, so first off, I got to say, this is the 4th in-person service. I don't know about you guys, if it's your first time since pandemic, I'm really feeling it. Like emotionally, my tears are holding it back, but like inside, I'm like Niagara Falls, I'm telling you. And the music team is amazing. It's just everything that I've been missing in life has just all come together in my ears and filling me full. So thank you for that.
Thanks, David.
And thank you, Rabbi. It was excellent. And thank you to Ava for the Dvar. It was wonderful. We do have a lot of announcements. I will get the most important one out of the way first. I would ask for a drum roll, but that's a little too cheesy. But in July, we are removing the 50-person capacity for Shabbat services. Yay! All right, so please see your email on how to register to join us in person for a service in the sanctuary or in the amphitheater. There are some requirements. You must be a CBHT member and fully vaccinated if you are 16 or older. And let's all just agree, it's time to return. For those of you at home who may have not been to services yet, again, I'm feeling the Ruach. It's in me, and I think I can feel it from all you all. It's just wonderful. We've been all, I think, waiting patiently to return. And I think I'm feeling it because the temple has also been waiting for us to return to it. So let's not let the temple down. That was a joke, by the way. All right, so each year at this time, we ask our members to reaffirm your support for the temple through the Fair Share commitment. So last Wednesday, Buffy sent out the link to complete your Fair Share online. It's important to our operations that you get these sent as soon as possible. If you have any questions, please contact Buffy. She has any answer that you could ever need, not just about the temple. All right, and we are grateful to your ongoing commitment and everybody's steadfast loyalty to temple and God and ourselves and each other throughout all of this. Now, religious school is over, but for those of you who would like some schooling, the summer midweek Hebrew registration is live for those religious school students who would like to stay sharp and maybe work towards a golden kippah or a rainbow yod. I'm seeing some takers. Eric, back there, you ready for the rainbow yod? He's wearing his golden kippah for those. It's inside out, but he's wearing it. He knows. All right. Now this is also important. The ballpark. The Asheville tourists, people. Asheville tourists are playing in person. And the Brotherhood's annual gathering at the tourist baseball game is on July 21st. Everyone is invited, including Eric. And tickets are $9. There is an email that went out last Tuesday. If you deleted it, you have questions, Buffy has the answers. All right, now, something we haven't done in over a year. we have new members, and they need to be introduced. So, young lady, if you could. So, if you are a new member to the congregation, could you please stand? Raise your hand.
Testing.
Sorry, the mic works.
The mic does work. We're going to get a microphone passed around to you. If you could just introduce yourself and your family, where you're from, and one interesting thing about you.
Thank you. I'm Paul Kirshner, relatively new to the Asheville area from the Northeast, and we split our time between Florida and here. So that's about as interesting as you're going to get tonight.
That's interesting. All right.
I'm Allison Miller, my husband Mark Miller. I am now 8 days retired from
Hey.
Thank you. Baruch Hashem. After 44 years of nursing. So, yeah, I'm really happy to be retired. And my husband works for NPR
Hey,
down in
all right.
Tampa. See, I knew that.
I'm on the radio in Florida right now.
And that's the most interesting thing about us.
Welcome.
I'm representing. I'm Julia Rodbell. This is my father, Gary, and my mother, Colette. We're from New York, and my parents just moved here. I'm visiting voluntarily to hang out with them this summer. Our fun things, our interesting things, I forgot one, so I'm about all three of us. I had one, but about myself, I'm moving to Israel at the end of the summer.
Yay.
And I knew this crowd would like that.
Oh, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk about him. Are you done?
Oh, all right, that's all for the people that I have to introduce. On your way out, just be sure to grab a to-go neg, bag of treats, if you'd like, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I do want to say that we made an exception, but not really, to our members only at this time to welcome and sadly bid farewell to my colleague Brent Norris of St. Mary's Episcopal Church just down the street. Brent has been Father Norris, Rector Norris. What do people call you? Brent. Brent, what's that to your face? Brent is one of the funniest people I know. He's been a friend and a confidant, one of the first people who invited me out to lunch to welcome me and give me the lay of the land here in Asheville as a fellow faith leader. He was at everything that meant and expressed movements of justice in this community. And I will say that when we were all afraid to be Jews in Asheville, Brent promised, and I believed him, and I would believe him if he said it today, that he would get 30 people outside our door and make sure that nobody harmed us. And I can't tell you that when we were really afraid and unfortunately continue to be afraid, we're sorry to lose such an ally, such a friend, such a lovely human. Asheville will be sad to see you go, but we are so happy that you have found another faith home in Alabama, which is at sea level, which I understand is where his natural habitat is, not here in the mountains, but we've been blessed that you've been living up here with us for all these years, and I will miss you personally, and Brent worships with us. He comes to services. He comes to Purim. So our heartfelt wishes just for all blessings for you to come. So please give him loving on the way out too, as you take your to-go neg. So we're at the end. We do have to wrap this thing up. And I continue to be grateful to all of the people who join us from a distance. We are delighted to be able to include and offer this additional access to all of you who are not ready or just can't or got shut out because we were waiting list only. But yes, July, just come on in. We're ready to have you. We'll end. Seth's got the ending. You got the ending.
So, in addition to the words that Ahava spoke on and expounded on and shared wisdom about in our Parshat HaShavua, we have the words Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, Jacob, your dwellings, Israel, from this Parsha this week. But more do the words that really speak to me are, and as for me, it's your abundant grace when I enter this place, your sacred space. We say these words in the morning. I get to say these words with Ahava and a number of other people on a weekly basis during Bonei Shachrit, and we share these words together tonight. Please rise. Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael. And as for me, it's your abundant grace. When I enter this place, your sacred space. Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael Yisrael Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.